Dr. Z, getting right into it. I just sent you a 10-minute voice memo from the shower.
You did.
So let's just start with that.
And I love you for it.
I just want to share what I was saying because I think it will be a good leeway for us conversation-wise. Narcissism. You are a doctor, psychologist, specializing in mental health, narcissistic abuse, depression, anxiety. Hello. I mean, we all need you, right? We've all got a little bit of everything, but also just how big the narcissism word has gotten on media, social media 2020. I heard it, the gaslighting. So I just want to go peel back the layers, go into the 101 of what is narcissism, and then just fly from there.
Yeah. So I'll say talk about narcissistic abuse, right? And narcissism, I'm referring to people who have narcissistic personality disorder. This is not somebody, I was just about to ask if I could curse on your show, and then I realized who I'm talking to.
Can you curse on my show?
Right. This is not just somebody who's an asshole. This is not just somebody who cheated on you. This is not just somebody who's difficult. This isn't somebody who's selfish or self-absorbed. Narcissistic personality disorder is a pervasive personality style, meaning the way they interact with the world around them, the way they interact with themselves in relation to other people. In order to have an extremely unhealthy relationship, don't stay in it just because they're not a narcissist. That doesn't then excuse the other behavior, which is equally as unhealthy. So I like to say that first because I think some people will come to me and they'll say, I need to know if they're a narcissist. Well, why do you need to know? Because I need to know if I should leave or not. I'm like, no. That's not how this works. So technically with narcissistic I have a cold, but technically narcissistic personality disorder is somebody who is grandiose with their sense of importance, which can look like thinking the world revolves around them or that they are the best of the best and people should, just do as they say. But they oftentimes put in very little work to get to this place that they think they're already at, right? So they say they're like this, but they don't do anything to get there, right? So there's that. They are extremely sensitive to any type of criticism, but I caption that as a perceived criticism. So I could say to you, oh, I love that shirt. I think you look better in yellow. And you would take that as like an attack on your absolute soul at its core. Okay. So they're very sensitive to perceived criticism.
Yeah.
Grandiose, like I said, extremely manipulative in their behavior. They will do whatever they need to do to get what they need. And if you get hurt in the process, that's your fault. You were in the way. There's a difference between that and doing it on purpose to hurt you and watch you suffer. That's more of that kind of antisocial personality disorder, which is in that what we call cluster B, borderline, narcissistic,
oh, yes,
and antisocial. So narcissists routinely will strategize and manipulate to be able to get what they need when they want it. Everybody is an object in their life. And when they have no purpose for you anymore, you're cut out, you're done until they need you again, and then they'll pull you back in.
Listen, a lot of people listening to this, watching it, are going to think that there's this underlying, it must be Nicki's ex, or it must be this or that. I'm going to tell you something. The worst type of narcissists I've ever known have been women in business. So just let's talk about that, the gender thing. Men, women, ADHD in men and women show up differently. Can you talk about narcissism?
Yes. So narcissistic personality disorder is more common in men. Women tend to be more diagnosed with anxiety or ADHD or depression or borderline personality disorder. But narcissistic personality disorder is not just my clinical opinion, but a lot of my colleagues will tell you that while in the DSM, that's kind of like our Bible of diagnoses, right? Psychiatric disorders. It's very small, the percentage of the population. It is horrifically underdiagnosed because nobody with narcissistic personality disorder goes to treatment. Why? Because they don't think anything's wrong with them. Right. Or if they go, it's court mandated. Or if they go, it's because it's, quote, couples therapy. No one goes to get help with their narcissistic personality disorder. And now, listen, I'm sure there's some people that do, but not many. And those with true NPD, the likelihood of them making any meaningful, sustainable change and staying in therapy is very, very
Because
slim.
are they gonna think that everyone around them is stupid?
Yes.
Right? Like the
They're
therapist.
above a label. And here's the thing, even if they're told they're a narcissist, even if they know they have narcissist personality disorder, they don't care. There's no motivation for them to change unless it directly benefits them in some sort of public image way or they get something from it. So back to what they are, what narcissists, right? So sometimes they can be overt, right? Like they're grandiose, they're obnoxious, they suck the life out of them, and it's very obvious. But they're like that all the time, constantly. Okay, there's that type of narcissist. Then there's many types. These are the two ones that people know about that we talk about.
Yeah.
There's more of this vulnerable covert narcissist, which is the one where they're always the victim. Everything happens worse to them. Nobody loves them. Everybody needs to cater to them. They turn it on and off. So they could be screaming at you at the top of their lungs, arguing you, abusing you, but then the doorbell rings and they open the door. Oh, hey, how are you? So that's, that's the other type. Those to me are the most dangerous, where the behind the closed doors, they're monsters.
Right.
But to the general public and outside, they're adored, they're charming, they're the life of the party. Everybody loves them. The thought of them being abusive is like foreign concept.
Right. So for
Yeah.
people who didn't hear me on Dr. Z's podcast, I think that would be a good first one to listen to, piggyback with this one to get a little bit of everything. But my audience most related to with questions was co-parenting
Oh, yeah.
with a narcissist
Yeah.
and narcissistic mothers to
Yes.
adult daughters. Those were like my DMs.
Those are
just
always
pop,
the
pop, pop,
biggest.
pop.
Mhm.
So where should we begin?
Let's start with co-parenting. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start with this. So here's the thing about co-parenting with a narcissist. So people always call it co-parenting. It's not co-parenting. You don't co-parent with a narcissist. You don't even counter-parent with a narcissist. The counter-parenting is where you each have your own parenting strategies, but they're totally different. One does this, it's not even that. It's counter. It's anti-parenting. So the healthy parent will do what's in the child's best interest. The
Yeah.
narcissistic parent will not do that. They will use the child as a pawn to continuously punish the healthy parent. So the parenting that goes on is not really parenting. It's framed like that so they look good. But really what it is using the child as a pawn or children as a pawn to punish the other parent for leaving or punish the other parent for doing X, Y, and Z. And they're constantly using them. So the best interest is never in the child's best interest. And that right there is kind of a hallmark of narcissist co-parenting, because a healthy parent, even if they're depressed, anxious, whatever the case may be, they still, as a healthy parent, will put their children's needs first.
Yeah.
A narcissist won't do that. A narcissist views a child, particularly male narcissists. I'll explain mother narcissists when we get into that. Male narcissists view children as in the way of the life they want to lead, right? Male narcissists will view them as interfering with their dating, interfering with their career. They want to push them up, pawn them up. They don't want to have to deal with their needs because they don't care. And that's a hard thing to wrap your brain around, especially as a parent. How could you not care about your child's needs, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. And you have a higher purpose as a parent. With a narcissist, there is no higher purpose. They are the highest purpose. Co-parenting is extremely difficult. And what I recommend for people who have to parent with a narcissist is understand that the healthy parent's going to be the one that gets all of the shit. Because when that child comes home from the narcissist house for the weekend or the night that they had them, they're going to be completely and totally unnerved. They're going to be dysregulated. And so it takes at least a day for that child to become regulated again once they get back to the healthy parent's house, because there were no rules over there. There's no structure. There's arguing. There's walking on eggshells. They come back to the safe parent, and then they need to regulate themselves. So the safe parent has a really difficult role when you're co-parenting with a narcissist.
Wow. I mean, the co-parenting topic in general, I feel like even if you were not here talking about narcissism, there's so much to talk about.
Oh, there's so much.
So maybe that's another thing, because I hate to focus on just such a negative word all the time, versus like, because then the person who has to live with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a breakup. This is you're stuck together basically forever
Yeah.
with the kids. And if you have any shared parenting stuff, like, you are going to have to find a way to deal. So
Yes.
still on the
Yes.
male narcissist with
Yes.
the ex-wife and kids,
Yes.
let's think of the things we can control, because we're
Yep.
never going to control him.
Correct. Yep.
What are the things that we can control for our sanity
Yep.
and for coping? I
Yep.
really want to dive
So
into that.
yeah, so there's a bunch of things that I recommend for people when they're co-parenting. I have a lot of this on my website for people if they want to access it as a resource. But first and foremost is there is nothing communicated about the child or the divorce in face-to-face conversation or on the phone. Every single communication you have with a narcissistic ex must be in writing, either email or text. Period. End of story. Your custody schedule. If you do not have a custody schedule, a court mandated
Mm.
custody schedule, and you're in a divorce with a narcissist, you must get one. You must get one. You will not be allowed to live your life as you want without it. And here's why. Because at this point, all the narcissist has to control you with is your child and your time. So you need to make sure that you have that custody schedule because you must have time boundaries. If they're picking the kid up at 7 o'clock, they're picking the kid up at 7 o'clock. Now, what the narcissist will do is they'll be 5 minutes early. They'll be 10 minutes late. If they know it's your birthday, they'll purposely say they're sick and they can't take the kid and can you switch days with them? So they know what they're doing and they'll deliberately do it just to fuck with you, to make your schedule, your time feel like you don't have control over it. So you must be time boundaried. Don't ever switch days. Don't ever switch days. If you can't take the child for whatever reason, find a parent, find somebody, find a resource, unless
Oh,
you're
that's
really,
interesting.
really, 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 really stuck.
Yeah.
And some people have nobody because the narcissist has isolated them. So in those cases, if you can't, right, you can switch, but understand, how to go about that. So that's number one. Everything in writing, because they will hold it against you. They're going to gaslight you and manipulate you. But if you have it in writing, that's different. Anything you send to them can only be about the children. Nothing about why did you do this? Why did you do that? Or I feel this way, or I'm so angry at you. How could you say this? Because they're going to do a whole bunch of things when the child's in their custody to piss you off. And that's why I say use the child as a pawn to get to you. So anything you message with them can only be about a doctor appointment, time for custody, pick up, drop off, school stuff. That's it. If you put any emotion words in there, take them out. If they send you a novel, because we know they're good at this, send you text over and over and over again. If they send you a 50-page text message, I only want you to respond to the things that are fact-based. So somewhere in this verbal diarrhea that they send you, there's something that says, I'll drop them off at 7, somewhere in this mess. Then you just write, I'll see you at drop off at 7. That's it. Because again, all they have access to now is your time. Don't give it to them. And so those are some really helpful strategies. The other thing to understand is, remember, any birthdays, holidays, anything where they know you have a meeting, let's say, and you're not going to be home till 7, but they show up at your house at 6:30 and they have to go, but you're not home. So you don't want to give them any information about what your plans are, because they will take it, they will use it, and they will try to ruin it, which is what they did while you're with them.
So and they are aware. That's
Yes.
they're aware
Yes.
that they're doing this. There's a
Yes.
calculation.
Yes.
It's so deep, because I think what we talked about on the podcast when I was on yours was someone like me
Yeah.
is so stupid because I'm just like a little golden retriever where, like, how could anyone ever be that mindful about being mean, right?
Yes. So
So
let me talk about the difference, because you're right, because people can't, it's batshit crazy. You can't wrap your brain around it. And that's a good thing.
yeah.
So let me talk a little bit about, because I know a lot of people have questions about this, the difference between narcissistic personality disorder and how it manifests versus somebody who has unhealthy patterns of behavior. Okay.
Let's
So
emphasize that,
yeah.
yes.
So obviously NPD is a bunch of unhealthy patterns of behavior, right? They're pervasive. They are always going to be there. They are never going anywhere. It's how they always are going to relate to themselves in the world. They're locked in. Somebody who has unhealthy patterns can look exactly the same on the surface, but the underlying function of a narcissist behavior pattern, and when I say narcissist, I mean NPD, true NPD, the function of their behavior versus the function or the underlying reason why someone does what they do, of someone who has toxic patterns, are inherently different. So let me give an example of unhealthy patterns. Let's say that you grow up in an environment where mom's an alcoholic and dad is totally absent, okay? Neither one of them have narcissism, okay? Mom has an addiction. Dad is just out somewhere. Who knows? Dad's somewhere. Doesn't matter why mom's drinking. Doesn't matter why dad's absent. That's not the point of this. So let's just say that that's what you're dealing with. And every time you, let's say, as a child, do something wrong, right? You may not even know as a kid what you did was wrong or right. You have no idea. You just know you're going to get yelled at if mom's drunk. If mom's not drunk, then you're going to get, doted on. So your behavior technically has no consistency in terms of the outcome. It really depends on whether mom's drinking or not. Dad, when dad's not home, things are calm. When dad is home, the parents are arguing constantly and then taking it out on the kids. So it's just chaotic. So this is the environment you grow up in. As a child, when you're in that type of upbringing, children, unfortunately, at this age are resilient. I know people say, children are resilient. Well, that's great, but they shouldn't have to be in this situation, but they are. So children are resilient. They come up with strategies to survive that dynamic. They come up with strategies in that interpersonal toxic dynamic so that they can survive their upbringing emotionally and keep safe until they can leave the house and go into adulthood. So let's say that they've learned that mom's hot or cold. They don't really know why. They're not really aware that she's drinking, blah, blah, blah. So they just know that if something good happens to them, they're just going to keep it to themselves. Something bad happens, they're just going to keep it to themselves because mom's too inconsistent. They don't know what they're going to get. So they just learn to shut down. When dad comes home, they're so excited to see dad. So they try to get dad's praise, let's say. I'm just throwing examples out.
Yeah.
This wasn't.
Yep.
And so when dad comes home, they try to show them all their accomplishments and look what I did and blah, blah. And dad could care less. Just shoos them off. Doesn't yell at them, just totally invalidates them, ignores them.
Yeah.
As this child grows up, through their childhood, they've learned to just keep shit to themselves because it doesn't matter anyway. Nothing they do is good enough. And they don't have a good judge of kind of what's good and what isn't good because the responses don't make sense, right? They fail a test, mom hugs them, but then they get an A and mom screams at them, not realizing it's because mom's drinking. So in adulthood, they now have these patterns of stuffing stuff down, okay? Not talking about their accomplishments, not feeling their accomplishments, and brushing everything under the rug just to keep the peace, hence people pleaser, okay? Their needs don't matter. Nothing they say is good enough, so why bother? They just are so in tune to other people that they just want to make sure they're happy so their life is easy. And that worked for them as a child, but now as a grown adult, you're out of that context. You don't need that pattern anymore. You don't need that survival strategy anymore. Now you're an adult. You have more control over your world. People that shift as a result of that will live a healthier life. People who take those patterns and continue them into adulthood will have difficulty. So, toxic patterns. You now are walking around, right? And you, let's say, I'm going to move people pleaser. Let's say you develop this pattern of, I can't depend on anybody else. Everybody sucks. I can only depend on myself. This is what I had to deal with growing up. I've learned not to depend on anyone, and everybody else is an asshole and totally not trustworthy and unreliable. So here you are out in the world doing your thing. You don't depend on anyone. You're going to do it for yourself. Nobody else does it the way you know you can do it. You're going to come off as a selfish, self-absorbed, toxic individual. However, if you take that pattern and you compare it to one of NPD, on the surface, they're going to look exactly the same. but the underlying function behind them are very different. So the person who learns to just keep shit to themselves and do it themselves because it's easier and less toxic, they don't want to hurt people. They would be really upset if somebody said, "Do you know that when you do that, you're totally invalidating how I feel? Are you trying to make me upset?" That person who's not a narcissist is going to not want to do that. They're going to want
Mm.
to fix what they're doing so the people around them don't get hurt. Now, that change is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But remember, that's their way of keeping themselves alive.
Yes.
So to
Yep.
give that
Yep.
up is extremely scary. The difference is they want to give it up. They know it's not healthy. They want to change. They don't want to hurt the
They're
people
the
around them.
self-growth kings and queens right
Yes,
now,
but
right?
it's gonna be really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
You need to do the work.
Yep.
If they don't build toxic relationships, if they do, then they're going to improve. But the function of that behavior is different. Narcissistic personality disorder, it works for them. They don't care if other people are hurt. Well, you're too sensitive, Nikki. You're too, or Jamie, like you exaggerate everything. So
Yeah,
there's an
or I
inherent
remember one of your podcasts that like struck me was that the couples who go to therapy, right? The narcissist,
yes,
it will be something about the
yes.
cheating and the blame will go, if it's a male narcissist,
Yes.
the blame in therapy will be on her. Well, I
I
cheated
cheated because
because you weren't sleeping with me.
right. That's exactly right. That's right. Whereas somebody,
And
let's
then
say
it will make the person feel like they've done something
yes,
wrong because then it takes the focus off of
that's right.
that's
And then
wild.
the argument will become about how that person is there for them. What do you mean? I love you, I this. And so now the whole thing about the cheating is totally off the table.
Yeah.
They've removed all accountability.
Yeah.
Whereas let's say somebody cheats, not that cheating's healthy, but let's say somebody cheats, they're not a narcissist, they're unhappy in their marriage, they cheat, they feel low, whatever the case may be. Again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just giving
Yeah.
two different.
Yep.
And the other person finds out and they go to couples therapy. That therapy session is going to look very different with a non-narcissist. It's going to look like, I know, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I completely understand your feelings. I validate them. These are the reasons why I did what I did. I am unhappy. Not you made me do this or you did. They take
Or the ball is in your
accountability.
court. The ball is in your court. I'm happy.
Yeah, they
You're
take
the one that's not
accountability.
happy.
And narcissists will not only not take
I've
accountability,
seen it so
they're
many
gonna
times. Yeah.
blame you,
Yeah.
right? And they also have no empathy and no remorse. So a narcissist who cheats, they don't feel empathy. They'll fake empathy, especially if they get caught. But somebody who's not a narcissist, I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but the chances are they're gonna feel pretty bad.
Mm.
And they're gonna
Oh,
feel guilty anyway the whole time. A narcissist
yeah.
doesn't feel guilt. They'll pretend they feel guilty to get back in
Whenever
people's
I
good graces.
hear, because the older you get, right? I'm 47, the more I see relationships around me either thrive or
Yep.
like fall apart.
Yep.
Especially, I think we can go back to COVID and say that was like make or break for a lot of people's
Correct.
marriages.
That's
But has it always been this way and just now people get caught?
even people that have healthy marriages,
Yeah.
they go through phases or they're together for 20 years and things die out and there's a lot of people change. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's right,
Right.
but it's not just the wackos. It's people
Right.
that are very, at one time were really happy, are really good people, and the guy is just, let's say, like really not okay. And people say, well, if you're going to cheat, just leave the marriage. Let
Yeah.
me tell you
No, I
something. I
know. I
mean,
know.
it's not that easy,
Right.
And again, I'm not
Is there a
saying any of it's
difference
right, but
between a narcissist really knowing that they did wrong, or a person really knowing that they were wrong and
Mhm.
admitting it and being vulnerable and breaking it down and being apologetic and fixing it?
Yeah.
Or at least like versus is a narcissist going to cheat and then make all the excuses in the world?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They're
That's
going to say, you went through my phone. What are you, crazy? How dare you go through my phone? And then,
okay. This is
you're
really important
crazy.
for a lot of
You
people
need
to hear.
help. You're psychotic. You're going through my, and they're saying, well, you were in the shower. I saw your phone beep. I picked it up. And then next thing you know, you're arguing for an hour on why you're not crazy, why you're not stalking, picking up their phone. And then before you know it, you're apologizing and they're gaslighting you into thinking you're so crazy that you saw something that you think you saw, but you didn't see. It wasn't a text message from a woman. It was their friend sending them a screenshot of a text message from a woman.
And they'll make you believe like, "Oh my
Yes.
god, how did
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I shouldn't have reacted that way."
Whereas, and gaslighting is different than lying. And I think that's a really important thing. Gaslighting is different than lying. When
Yes.
somebody is lying, they'll lie. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And then you're going to say, oh, really? You didn't do it? Holds up a picture of you kissing a girl at a bar. And a person who's lying is going to say, shit, I'm caught. And there it goes. Then they come clean and they start, right? And they're like, fuck, I got caught.
Tail between the legs, baby.
Whereas a narcissist is going to
No.
say, that's not me. And you go, what do you? Yes, it is you. No, it's not.
And they literally convince
Yes, it is.
themselves that
But
their lies are that they're
No,
real
no,
life.
they know it's them. But they're going to tell you, because remember, this isn't a one-time thing. They've been gaslighting you for years. They have been making you think that your perception of reality is so warped, you can't trust yourself. So this isn't like a one-time thing where like, that's not me. And you're like, what are you talking? Of course it is. And you're so conditioned at that point and so confused about your ability to perceive reality. It's like, that's not me. What are you talking about? I don't even own that shirt. And you're like, yeah, I bought it for you. No, you didn't. What are you talking about? You're fucking crazy. Like, this is what we hear. And so before you know it, they're telling you somebody's out to get me. You know AI. You know how easy it is to make a picture with AI? Like, that's not me.
I mean, we're all kind of smirking because we've all, as women, older, we've all dated both guys.
Right.
We've all dated both guys.
And so, that's the difference. That is the function isn't the same. The surface it may be, but the function isn't. They will never take accountability. And even if they say, yeah, you know what? You caught me. So what? What are you going to do about it now? Maybe if you had sex with me more often, I wouldn't have to do this. Again, they're coming clean, but they're not sorry. They're not taking accountability.
I want to fight these people.
That's the difference. And understand, it's not this one-time thing. NPD is a pervasive pattern. So their lying and their manipulation is constant, even when they are being so sweet and so loving. It's not
they want
real.
something. It's because they want
it's not real. And so you have to, I always tell people, don't look at their behavior as episodes.
Yeah.
Like he used to be great, or she used to be wonderful, and now she's not. And I want to get back to how they used to be. Problem with that is how they used to be in the beginning was a total act.
Love bombing.
What you see now is who they are. They did that it's like a high. It's like you want to get the same high you got the first time, but you will never have that high again. And you'll constantly be chasing it, which is why they do this intermittent, abuse, love bombing, abuse, love bombing. It creates an addictive cycle. Your body, your brain chemically becomes addicted to this.
This is so interesting to me.
It's so sad.
Little fun fact, I went to grad school thinking I was going to be a psychologist.
I think you would.
So I got my master's in family counseling. Bet you guys didn't know that. And now I get to live it out in this like weird online. I get to talk to these people and learn. So family dynamics and relationship dynamics have been always so interesting to me. I don't know if it's because of my parents' divorce, but as a kid, I was such a feeler. I felt everything and I still do. And I believe in people. And I think it's just interesting for us to learn because even if you're not living it and you don't have interest in the topic, we all know someone going through
absolutely.
Something difficult, and having the toolkit to be a good friend and to be a good, a person as a support. So back to I love what you were talking about with like the tools and the survival mode, whether it's an ex-husband or an ex-wife or an ex-friend, like how do we protect our peace after narcissistic abuse and go into a healthy, does it always require therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You can't, you can't, the analogy I like to give is it's like a fish in a fishbowl. You don't realize there's a whole world outside the fishbowl unless someone knocks you out of it or pulls you out of it. So if you don't have any outside support to pull you out or to balance your perception of reality off of, or like here's an example. She lets me talk about it all the time. So my dearest friend in the world left a narcissist, horribly abusive, and one of the things that when she started dating, eventually after a long time appealing,
Mm.
she said to me, how'd the date go? Totally a narcissist. I'm like, how do you don't even know that? What do you need a narcissist? You don't know that. He opened the car door for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Right. Like, let's slow down. Why is that?
I would love the car door open for
Because
you.
it's a control thing. I can open the car door by myself. But you have to understand, after years of this type of abuse, any behavior like that is going to be interpreted as
Ugh.
taking power and control away from you. You know, when they get out of these relationships, when she got out of this
So
relationship,
she was in one where the
oh,
narcissist did that, the abuser did that all the
no,
time.
just everything was nothing was hers. Her
Ugh.
story wasn't hers. Her life wasn't hers. I mean, he didn't let her work. He wouldn't let her dress a certain way. She had to eat a certain type of I mean, it's very hard to explain to people how insidious coercive control is. She got out of this, and I'll have women say, especially women will say this to me all the time, I don't even know what kind of food I like. Because you're told this is what you like. This is what you don't like. She didn't even know what side of the bed she wanted to sleep on. She didn't know what her favorite color was. She would get such horrible anxiety putting on makeup because if he came home and she was wearing makeup, he would lose his shit. Well, where were you? Why are you wearing makeup? Who were you trying to impress? So just putting on makeup gives her like a panic attack. And so this is why I say this isn't just an asshole. This is somebody who has literally infiltrated every aspect of your life. You don't know what music you like. You don't know any. She'll hear footsteps going up the stairs and have a panic attack because that means he's home. So, he would make him lunch, drive it all the way to work just to throw it out in front of her.
No, I'm
To
sorry.
control her so when I give these
Yeah,
examples,
yeah.
right, and people, "What?" Like, that's why I say narcissistic abuse, it is so hidden and so under the radar, but it's so freaking bad. You lose who you are, you lose your sense of identity, which is why a lot of people stay because they've been conditioned for so long to have zero confidence in their ability to function without the
And
narcissist.
is that what the narcissist wants? Is that
Yes,
they are their
yes,
only source of
yes.
happiness?
Yes, they isolate you from family friends. So, your friend Nikki, I know you love her, but like, there's just something about her I don't trust. Or with your parents, do your parents always involve themselves in your life? I mean, you
So
really need to be
they
more.
will twist it and make
Yes,
you start being
yes,
like, "Oh, wait, should I be
yes,
concerned about that
yes,
person?"
yes, and they're
Wow.
love
Fuck.
bombing you. So why would this person lie to you? They love you. Or you know what? You work so hard. I hate seeing you so stressed with your job. Why don't you just go part time? I'll help you with the rest of the stuff. Oh, great. No, not great. Because as soon as they start to do that, now your earning potential just dropped. Now you have no income. Now you're financially dependent on them. So leaving is not easy. Um, they're very controlling. They isolate you. You don't know which end is up. So, again, it's not
How
just
did
an
they get like,
asshole.
how do they get this way? How does this happen?
Yeah.
And I'm selfishly like, "Man, I'm raising 2 kids. The last thing I wanna do is raise a freaking entitled." Because I think of me, who doesn't know a lot about the topic from a psychology standpoint, is selfish, lack of accountability, never wrong, entitled,
Yeah.
like, it's just this
So a lot of
picture.
people are like that, right? Like, I mean, I just, I look at my kids and my daughter said something the other day, how she was so angry about this. I'm like, I just bought you so much crap for the holidays and you're complaining about right? But she's 9. And, and I put her in her place and then, and that's, I said, all right, I'll take everything back. Like, I'll hold my boundaries with her.
Yeah.
She knows I just give the look
Yes,
and she's like,
totally.
okay,
I get
you
it.
know,
I get it.
so
I'm
listen,
living it.
listen. I mean, a lot of people are entitled. There's a lot of people that are selfish. There's a lot of people that self-absorb. Social media and the nature of the world these days, we are all creating little like, self-absorbed little humans. But the difference is that they have empathy, right? They have
Mm.
accountability. And even if my kid, my daughter, I didn't do it, and there's like chocolate over, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. It was Whitney, it was her sister. It wasn't me.
Yes.
But again, the difference is the function of the behavior. The
Yeah.
function of the behavior for a narcissist, 100% of the time is always going to be to gain power and control. When my daughter is being, a little brat,
Yeah.
she's not trying to gain power and control over me. She's trying to get out of getting in trouble. She's trying to get out of me telling her she can't have a play date. I mean,
Yes.
or if, let's say, you do something really messed up to me, right? And I call you out on it. Maybe you did it because you didn't want to look bad, or you did it because you had a bad day, or what.
Yeah.
It's not to gain power and control over me, and that's the difference.
Right.
That's the
Yeah,
underlying
I
difference.
called my friend who's a behavioral therapist the other day because I was like, "You need to talk me off the ledge with this." I was so mad that my daughter had a sleepover and I had gotten them these little, like the little donuts. I never buy those. And I was like, "Oh, I'll have a little treat for the morning." And my daughter took like there was one powdered one left, and that's the one my son wanted, but my son was willing to wait
Yep.
for the powdered donut because he's a lot like me. He will
Yeah.
make sure everybody else is all set.
Yes. Yes.
And my
Yes.
daughter took his donut and gave it to her friends.
Yeah.
When I tell you, that put me into a tailspin, because when you are divorced and you see traits of either your
Yes.
ex or another family member
Yeah.
in your own kids, it
You
triggers
panic.
something. So
Absolutely.
my friend was like, "Nikki, she just wanted to help her friend out. She
Yes.
is not a bad kid. She's not
Correct.
selfish."
Now,
Right?
use that though. Use that as an example. What's
Yes.
the function of her behavior? The function of behavior was to be a good friend, to
Yeah.
be a good
But
host.
I was like, "How dare you
right?
take your brother's donut?"
But here's the thing. But if it was a narcissist, the function of that same behavior would be taking something that the other person wanted on purpose to show that they have power and control over their emotions.
Okay.
You see the
I
difference? Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
This is so helpful because it's making me realize that people that I've definitely used the term narcissist, that
Are
I
probably
know
not. Or
some
probably are.
are
Yeah.
not. They're wounded, they're
Yes.
hurt, they're
Yes.
emotionally fragile, they're
Yes.
immature. They're
Which
so
narcissists
sensitive.
are, but
Right,
there's a
right,
difference.
but there's a difference is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
The calculated coercive control versus the, "I'm not gonna admit that I'm wrong because it makes me weak."
Yes.
Very different people,
Very
still
different.
concerning, still probably need therapy from both
Still
of them.
toxic. That's my point. Still
Yes,
toxic,
yes. I
right?
love this conversation.
But
I'm, like,
different.
soaking it all in.
Yeah. But different. The other thing too is narcissists often have episodes of rage when they get called out. So me calling somebody out those toxic patterns may, cry or may this or may ignore me. But a lot of times narcissists will also have this rage. And for those that have seen narcissistic rage, it's not somebody yelling at you. The eyes go black. The
Oh,
stare gets, there's this what's interesting? I watch, sorry, of course, because why wouldn't I watch messed up things like this? But I watched this series called either it's like a murder. I have to get the name of it, but there's this series I watch on Amazon, Murder Let's Hear or something, and it's these stories, true stories about somebody that they're close to in their family, a spouse, a sibling, a parent who is a narcissistic sociopath, essentially. And how they conned everyone, they tricked everyone, no one had any idea, and every single one of them will say the same damn thing every time. When they would get angry, when they would go into a rage, when they were called out on their shit, their eyes turned black. And what that is the pupil gets really big and the eyes go like this stare. And if the people listening, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Your body has this almost evolutionary protective response that happens where it feels more than dangerous. And I tell people, when you see that look, you get out, go.
that's so scary. Can
Yeah.
can can someone like that be like, I think that's what we hear. There was something that happened, I think it was in
Evil
Massachusetts.
Lives Here. That's the name of it. Evil Lives
Okay.
Here. If
But
you guys want to watch it. Yeah.
but that was something that happened, I think, in Massachusetts, where there's just a one moment that it's like, is it, so you're saying it's usually when they're either called out or caught with
Yes.
something,
Or
or
challenged. Yep.
so is that why a lot of people, because I mean, since I talk about my divorce,
Well, here's
since
the
I
thing. They
talk about
use
co-parenting.
that though. They use that to control and manipulate other people to not challenge them. They make themselves so scary so that people don't do it.
Right, but I get the question, can going through a divorce make somebody turn into like a scary person?
They
So
won't turn into it. They already are.
they are, but the divorce actually
It
somebody leaving
Yes.
them
Yes.
triggers a different.
Yes. Well, not different. Not
Okay,
different. They probably have seen it before.
okay.
They've seen it before. What happens when you divorce a narcissist, which is why I work with people on this, on you need to formulate an exit strategy for your safety, for your because when we know with domestic violence, even for non-narcissistic abusers,
Yeah.
that the time that the person leaves the relationship, and on average, for at least for narcissistic abuse, it takes about 7 times to leave for good. They leave, come back, get sucked in, leave, get sucked in, leave. So when they finally leave for good, that time when they leave is the highest risk for physical violence. So it is not a normal breakup. It is a
Ugh.
scary time where their lives are in jeopardy. So there's a lot of things that need to be in place to protect yourself. But the divorce, for example, yeah, that's going to send them into a rage because that's the ultimate loss of control.
I know a lot of people who have gone through divorce that just said, "I don't even know who this person is." Right? I don't know who this person is.
Yeah,
I was not
yeah.
married to this person. I did not fall in love with this person.
They probably were putting on a
Or
different face. When
right.
they lost control, that's when it came out.
Or they just went with the flow so often to let the other person have their way.
Exactly, because it's easier. A lot of times relationships like that where they just go with the flow because it's easier, they're doing it to protect themselves because if
Yeah.
they do anything else,
Yeah.
there's gonna be violence,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, I'm sure the threat of violence was
Yeah.
always there.
It's wild. Okay, so I'm gonna pause because I wanna do a Q&A. I got some
Yeah,
really
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
questions. So IG audience who is on for the live, a lot of people stayed on
Oh,
the live. So
we're still on
oh,
IG
yeah,
Live?
we
Oh,
did the live.
hi.
I think people
Hi.
bounce in and out. Hopefully, it will be a good way for them to get over to the full episode. But if you didn't already ask a question, please go into my stories now, post a question because I'm going to ask Dr. Z some questions from there now. So I'm peacing out on the live. Love you guys. I'll start with this one. Is it okay to get emotional in front of the narcissist when they make you feel a certain way?
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Now, here's the thing. It's not good, bad, don't the reason why I tell people don't do it is because that is the response. They
They
don't
want
give a
that.
shit if they're making you happy, sad, angry, or lonely. They just want to be the one in charge of causing the emotion.
They
They
want the
they
dopamine of whatever your reaction is.
they want no, because it's control and power.
Okay.
They want to be the one responsible for causing. If you're going to cry, I want to be the one that made you do it. If you're going to be happy, I want to be the one that made you do it.
Wowzers. Is
So
it
your
so
emotions are not
you
your
ever
own.
talk about the gray rock
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah,
method?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so men
all the
talk
time.
about that because it does work.
Yes. So the gray rock method is where it's not that you ignore them because ignoring them is still a response. Rolling your eyes, telling them to fuck off, slamming the door, those are all responses. They know they've gotten to you. Gray rock response is I like to equate it to a rock climbing wall. So a rock climbing wall has all those things you grip onto. I want you to be just a wall with nothing to grab onto where you can run full speed at it and then you just hit the wall and slide off. That's what you want to be. The wall they run into and slide off, which means your responses need to be exactly like a gray rock, boring as all hell.
So if they say, "Oh, what's the kids' sports schedule this week? Are you gonna be too busy with your boyfriend?"
Here's the thing.
To send like,
Let's say they know the sports schedule because it's the same thing every week. You wouldn't respond to that.
"Oh, I thought you'd just say,
If they don't
sure,
know
I'll
the
send it
sports
over."
schedule,
Yep,
let's say they don't know the sports schedule,
yep.
but and they say, "Oh, are you gonna be too busy with your boyfriends?" You don't write back, "No, I'm not gonna be too busy with my boyfriend." You just write back, "Their game's at 5 o'clock."
Yes. Okay.
That's it.
Yep,
That's it.
perfect example.
Listen, let me tell you,
It's
there's been
hard.
times
It's hard.
oh yeah, because if you have a personality like probably you and me, we really want to be like, "No, you
We
asshole,"
get
right?
heated, everything's emotionally
Yep.
driven. Yeah.
Hands flail, but like you can't do that. You can't. You just can't.
And you have to work on even when you are responding, you have to work on keeping your own blood pressure settled because
Your tone of
you
voice.
just
I tell
feel like
people to sit on
you
their
feel
hands.
misunderstood. You feel it's like
Yes. But
you
they're
don't even know
committed to
who
it.
I am, what I'm about, what I'm trying
Yeah.
to do, the
Yeah.
sacrifices I make, right? It's
They
almost
don't
like
care.
right? So you have to just, as Mel Robbins would say, let them.
You have to let them, and that's the wall. That's what I'm talking about. That's the wall. They
Yeah.
have to run in and slide off. You don't have, and I know it sounds cliche, but you don't have any control of what they're going to do. However, when it's a true narcissistic personality disorder, I mean, all people say, how did you know they were going to do that? How did you predict that? And I'm like, I'm not like this amazing fortune teller. It's literally the most predictable playbook. Once you are able to identify the playbook, I'm not saying it's smooth sailing,
Right.
but man, do you feel like you have so much for you
Yeah.
feel
And you can use
untouchable.
Grey Rock for both people.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
A lot of co-parent moms will say it's like the minute I have something going on that's about me, the minute
Uh-huh.
either me traveling and they can't find
Uh-huh.
something, they
Yep.
can't find the sports gear, or there's an emergency call when you're
Right.
literally in the middle of your thing that is like just for you, right? You could be
And so
going on.
here's the thing, if they didn't know what they were doing, why is it always the times that you know it's gonna be? How can they, everyone says narcissists are so
Yeah.
bad at controlling their anger and their rage. No, they're not.
Yeah.
For the simple fact that they know exactly who they can do it to, when to turn it on,
Yeah.
and when to turn it off. Someone
And
who's out of control can't do
the
that.
people around you typically see it before you do, the patterns,
Yes.
your friends, like
Because right, absolutely,
yeah,
because you're the one being gaslit to not
yeah,
be able to perceive accurately what's going on around you.
yeah,
In fact, when you ask somebody who's been narcissistically abused, they're not even able to understand the layers and the depths that this is at. We think of abuse as arguing and loud and violent,
right.
which it is. It's all of those things, but it's also these other covert, coercively controlling behaviors that are so hard for people to see outside and hard for the person that it's happening to.
And it's, like, so intelligent. It's, like,
So
creepy
intelligent.
how
Yeah,
intelligent it is.
I know. I know. I know.
This one came up a bunch. Can they change? Is it true there's no changing a narcissist? A lot of mother-in-laws.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been blessed with a very lovely mother-in-law, I will say that,
Yeah.
which I know is extremely rare. Um, but mother-in-laws, narcissistic moms whose sons in particular get married. Ooh,
Go into the
ooh.
go.
With a narcissistic mom, they view any step their child takes towards autonomy as abandonment and rejection. How dare you do this to me? Look at what I sacrificed for you. What's wrong with loving you too much? I did everything for you, and this is how you repay me, and blah blah blah. So that's kind of the background. A lot of the times they will view their children as extensions of them, almost like an accessory, like a handbag. And you are what they allow you to be. You are what they've made you into. So they view somebody coming in and marrying their son as stealing their property. You stole my car. How am I supposed to get around now? How am I supposed to function in life, right? You stole my car, and then looks at the son and says, how could you leave me? And now, while that won't be said directly, it's going to come out as making your relationship with your new wife extremely difficult, intervening at all costs, causing arguments, holidays and all that, birthdays and the wedding planning
The
and all
guilt
of
of,
that. The
like, "Are you
guilt.
going to her house again? Not
Yes.
mine."
So
Yep.
what happens is mothers will routinely, women in general, will routinely use emotions as their manipulative strategy. Guilt, shame, just really get them to feel badly that they're doing something wrong. And, how could you do this to, just that guilt and shame. They just really kind of look at it. So they will often view the new fiance or girlfriend or wife as a threat to their literal existence. Because if that child is not making them the center of their universe anymore, now they don't exist. It's because remember, they're an extension. To them, it's like cutting off their limb.
Yeah.
You took my arm, literally. You took my arm. Now what am I supposed to do? I'm going to punish you for the rest of your life now for taking my arm until I get my arm back. So essentially what you have is this mother will never be satisfied until her child is back in her control, which means what? I go back to the co-parenting where the difference is the unhealthy parent will never make their child's needs the priority. They're
Yeah.
going to use their child to punish the other person. Same with the narcissistic mom in this situation.
Wild.
She won't be happy until she has her child back or she has control over her child, which means what about her child's needs? They
Right.
don't fucking matter.
Right. This is from a daughter of a narcissistic father. How do
Yeah.
you handle someone downplaying the word and saying it casually?
So I think you need to look at it as most people, not their fault, are uneducated about narcissistic personality disorder. What ends up happening is people then don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be like, oh, everyone's a narcissist. No, not everybody is a narcissist, but there's a hell of a lot more narcissists out there than you realize. And even if there wasn't,
Yeah.
even if there was only, like they say, this tiny, tiny portion of the population, it is so unbelievably abusive and bad that it is worth talking about, even if it was that tiny, tiny percent.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Let's leave that there. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
2025, we're both going to just rock it,
Yes, we
right?
are.
Just keep spreading the love and the information to people. And I love chatting with you. I feel like we could talk all day.
And I love that you're talking about this topic. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank
you for doing
you
it.
for being here and spending time with us. All right. That's
Yes.
another Unplugged with Nicki Marie. Stay for more. Getting the comments, getting the likes, getting the subscribes. Love ya, Holly girl. Thanks, Dr. Z.
Bye.